So students, in this lecture, we are going to learn about the techniques or the steps involved in cell fractionation, or you can say the analysis of subcellular fractions. To understand the current topic, you should have prerequisite knowledge of basic principle of sedimentation that we have covered in the first lecture of this module. Then you should know the instrumentation of different types of centrifuges. It means you should also know that how many types of centrifuges may occur and how they are different from each other in terms of instrumentation. And finally, you should also know the theory or the principle of different type of centrifugation. See, we have already covered the types of centrifugation, in which we have learned that the centrifugation is of two types: preparative and analytical. In preparative, we have learned about the differential and the density gradient centrifugation. So you all have knowledge of theory and principle of different type of centrifugation. Now let's come to the main topic of today's lecture, that is cell fractionation. Now, what are the learning outcome for this lecture? After completion of this lecture, you will be able to know the application of centrifugation, cell fractionation and analysis of subcellular fractions. Now, what is cell fractionation? The first question is, what is cell fractionation? You have ever done fractionation in maths in your primary classes? Suppose your teacher has given to do the fraction of 10 in even integers. Then what you can do? You can fractionate the digit 10 into 2 plus 4 plus 4. Here the concept is same. We have to do the fractionation of different type of cell organelles of cell, right? So we have to make the homogeneous set of different type of cell organelles, so that the microbiologist or the scientist can study the cell organelles in their isolated form. So the cell fractionation can be understood in which a cell is broken up and its components and organelles are separated, so that the scientist can observe them in their isolated form. And this can be defined as the separation of homogeneous sets, usually organelles, from a larger population of cells. Okay, so if we ask the definition of cell fractionation in a single line, the answer should be like the separation of homogeneous sets of cell organelles from a larger population of cells. See, this is a very lengthy process, so it will involve so many steps, right? So the cell fractionation method involves the homogenization or destruction of cell boundaries by different mechanical or chemical procedures, followed by the separation of subcellular fractionation according to their mass, surface and specific gravity by running different type of centrifugation process. See, if I am asking about the cell, we know that the outer boundary in the plant cell is cell wall, whereas in animal cell, this is only the plasma membrane. So if we are working on animal cell, we have to disrupt the boundary of that cell, means we have to disrupt the plasma membrane of cell. But if we are working on the plant cell, we have to disrupt the cell wall as well as plasma membrane, so that all the cell organelle will come out into the sample tube. Then we will make the homogeneous mixture of these cell organelles before separation, right? So the steps of subcellular fractions involve, you can see here on the slide: homogenization, differential centrifugation, and further separation and purification by density gradient centrifugation. If you remember, these two are the types of preparative centrifugation, right? Then the next step will be the collection of fractions, and finally the analysis of fraction will take place. I hope you enjoyed the animation. Now coming to the topic, cell fractionation. The cell fractionation is a technique in which the cell are broken up and its components and organelles are separated, so that the scientist can observe them in their isolated form for further application or study, right? This can be defined as the separation of homogeneous sets, generally organelles, from their larger population of cells, different type of cells. Now, the cell fractionation method involves the homogenization or destruction of cell boundaries by different mechanical or chemical procedures, which is followed by the separation of subcellular fractions on the basis of their different masses, different surface, and different specific gravity. The steps of subcellular fractionation involve homogenization, differential centrifugation, further separation and purification using density gradient centrifugation, collection of fractions, and the analysis of fractions. We all know, till now we all know what is differential centrifugation. It is a separation of cell organelles on the basis of their different size, and density gradient centrifugation involves the separation of cell organelles on the basis of their different densities and but of same size. See, homogenization is a step in which we have to make a homogeneous mixture of our cell organelles, the mixture in which we cannot differentiate whether it is cell debris, whether it is mitochondria. We will get the homogeneous mixture of our cell samples. Now, as I already told you, the first step of cell fractionation is homogenization. In this step, the cell must be broken open. See, a lot of methods are available for this process. The method chosen is actually depends on the type of experiment and the type of sample cell that we are going to study. For example, in case of bacterial culture or mammalian tissue sample, we generally use detergent like SDS or Teton X. SDS is a sodium dodecyl sulfonate and Teton X is a non-ionic type surfactant. These surfactants can be used to disrupt the cell membrane so that the contents of the cell can flow out in a sample tube. This can also be done by subjecting the cells to the ultrasound waves or sonicating them by using sonicator, as well as this can be done by agitating the cell in the presence of metal or glass plates. Blender can also be used for such purpose with a tissue sample, but this blender cannot be worked with the bacteria or other microorganisms. Otherwise, blender will, break down the RNA or DNA of these bacteria or microorganisms. So, blender should be avoided if we are working on bacterial cell or other microorganisms. See, homogenization or cell disruption may be of many types. Chemicals can be used, and the chemical used for this purpose are generally alkalis, organic solvents, and detergent. Enzymatic methods involve the use of lysozyme and chitinase. These are the enzymes we know. And physical methods involve the osmotic shock or freeze and thaw methods. Now, on this slide, you can understand different type of homogenization method. See here, this is an example of chemical disruption in which the detergent like Teton X100 or NP40 can be used to disrupt the cell membrane of this cell. These surfactant can make permeable cells by solubilizing membrane of these cells. See, this method can be expensive and they can also denature the protein and must be removed after disruption. These are the some drawbacks when we use detergent for the homogenization. So this method can be avoided if we are using living cells and if we are doing any cost-effective experiment, right? The second method is sonication. See, sonicator is a device that generates high energy waves. These high energy waves vibrate the solution. In this way, the cell wall or the cell membrane present in the solution will broken out and the cell organelles will come out to the sample tube. And we will get the homogeneous mixture of cell organelles, right? And here you can see use of blender and plunger. In this method, the cells are placed, you can see here, the cells are placed in a closed vessel. A tight fitting plunger is inserted and rotated with a downward force. Like this. This blender will rotate and will come down to the bottom, will back to the top, will come down to the bottom. In this way, this blender works. Cell will be disrupted as they pass between the plunger and the vessel cell. These are some methods of homogenization. Now, the next step of cell fractionation will be the centrifugation. Now, the next step is differential centrifugation. If you remember, we have learned differential centrifugation, in which we have understood that this process involves the separation of bioparticles on the basis of their different size. The larger size particle will get pellet first under centrifugal force, and when we increase the RCF or RPM or the time of the centrifugation, we will get different fraction of cell organelles on the basis of their size. I hope you people remember. So, the differential centrifugation is a process where a homogeneate undergoes repeat centrifugation and increasing centrifugal force. Suppose in the first step, we have subjected our material for 100 or 1000 G of RCF for 10 minutes. In this cycle, the largest particle will form pellet and other particle will be remain in the supernatant. Then what will we do? We will transfer the supernatant into the another sample tube and we will separate out the first pellet that will be of the largest particle. I will explain this with the example. First, understand the process that we have already learned in the previous lecture. Now, these pellets are large cell structure that are settled down at the test tube bottom in the form of pellet. The supernatant are smaller particle of the cell suspending in the liquid. The supernatant is decanted and undergoes another centrifugation. This process is repeated and increases speed with each trial to collect successively smaller particles in the cell in the form of pellet. Okay, depending on the amount of starting material, which would usually range between 1 to 500 G. In the case of skeletal muscle preparation, a particular type of rotor and size of centrifuge tube is chosen for individual stage of the isolation procedure. And what do you understand by this G? This is the gravitational constant, and RCF will be taken as a multiple of this G. Now, the repeated centrifugation at progressively higher speeds and longer centrifugation periods will divide the muscle homogenate into distinct sections. Typical values for centrifugation steps are, you can see here, 10 minutes for 1000 G to pellet, nuclei and cellular debris. It means these are the largest size particle of the cell homogenate. Now, we will separate this nuclei and cellular debris pellet from the tube, and the supernatant will be subjected to the another cycle of centrifugation that will be 10 minutes for 10,000 G. In this cycle, the contractile apparatus will form pellet. Now again, we will separate this pellet from the supernatant and the sample tube will be subjected to the another cycle of centrifugation, and this time we will take 20 minutes at 20,000 G. For this cycle, we will get the pellets of mitochondria, and in the last fraction, now when we subjected this last fraction for 1 hour at 1 lakh G, microsomal fraction and cystosolic fraction will get separated. Mild salt washes can be carried out in order to remove myosin contamination and for membrane preparations. Now coming to the third step, that is density gradient centrifugation. See, in differential centrifugation, we have different fractions on the basis of different size, right? Now there is a probability that in a particular fraction there may be the presence of more than one cell organelles of same size. So now we know that in order to remove or in order to separate the fraction of same size and of different density, we have to perform density gradient centrifugation. So we all know the basics of density gradient centrifugation, in which we have used different gradient to separate the mixture on the basis of their different density. This is of two types, rate zonal and isopycnic, that we have already learned. Now in cell fractionation, generally sucrose gradient centrifugation is used to further separate microsomal subfraction derived from the different muscle membrane. Using a vertical rotor or swinging bucket rotor system at sufficiently high G-force, the crude surface membrane fraction, triad junction, longitudinal tubules and terminal cisternae membrane vesicle can be separated by this process. And to collect bands of fraction, the careful removal of fraction from the top can be achieved manually with a micropipette. Now the fourth step is collection of fraction. The main thing we should keep in mind that we have to keep our sample pure and intact. This collection of fraction can be done by hand. In this method, we can puncture the side wall of the centrifuge tube with needle and withdraw fraction through syringe. Machine can also be used to collect the fractions like gradient uploader. This introduces very dense, non-miscible medium into bottom of tube, pushes fraction up to be collected from the top. Suppose if no pellet is formed, the fraction can be collected by making a hole at the bottom of the tube. The last step of self-fractionation is analysis of fraction. The analysis of fraction is needed to identify and quantify the purified fraction so that they can be used successfully in downstream application. And the methods are light or electron microscopy. Biochemical method are used to determine the presence of marker enzymes. Assay for protein markers with an antibody. This technique you will learn in the third module of this course. To determine the protein concentration by using different spectrophotometer. For example, Bradford assay. If you remember, this Bradford assay is used for the protein assay techniques. The analysis of fraction can also be used to determine the specific activity of a particular cell organelle. Now, let's summarize the whole process of subcellular fractionation by using this flow diagram. We have taken a muscle tissue. First, the muscle tissue will get homogenized to get tissue homogenate. This can be done by mechanical, chemical or enzymatic method. If you remember, in chemical method we have used some surfactant. In mechanical we have used blender. Physical method, example is sonication. So there are so many different methods present to homogenize the muscle tissue. Once we get tissue homogenate, we will subject this tissue homogenate for differential centrifugation, and this differential centrifugation will involve so many steps. The first step will be the application of centrifuge for 10 minutes at 1000 G. In this process, we will get the palette of nuclei and cell debris, which are the largest particle present in the cell, and a supernatant. We will separate this palette from the supernatant, and the supernatant will then further subjected to the second cycle. This cycle will involve 10 minutes at 10,000 G. In this second cycle, we will get the palette of contractile apparatus, you can see here, and supernatant. We will separate contractile apparatus from the supernatant, and the supernatant is further subjected to the another cycle of 20 minutes and 20,000 G. In this cycle, we will get mitochondria palette and supernatant. After separation of mitochondria palette, supernatant will be subjected for another cycle with increased RCF and time. The time is 60 minutes and RCF is 1 lakh G. In this process, we will get cytosol and crude microsomal fractions. Now, these crude microsomal fractions will have different type of microsomes which are similar in size but different in density. So, this fraction will be subjected to the density gradient centrifugation. In density gradient centrifugation, we will take 10 to 60% of sucrose density gradient, and the centrifugation will take place for 300 minutes at 1,50,000 G. In this method, we will get different fractions of surface membrane, triads, light, sarcoplasmic reticulum fraction, heavy sarcoplasmic reticulum fraction, and debris. These are the fractions that we have got in the gradient density gradient centrifugation. Now, we will collect the fractions and will subject for the different type of analysis. This is the complete flow chart of the cell fractionation. This is very important flow chart. You have to keep practice of making this flow chart on your answer sheets on your notebook. When you people will be able to make this flow chart without taking help of your notebook or books, it means you understood the complete process of cell fractionation. These are some references from where I have taken material to make this lecture. Thank you so much for your patience.